Hi, good evening, and thank you for coming today. We are happy to have you to our meeting webinar about mindfulness with Samantha Amit. And I would like to present to you Samantha before giving her the stage to forward for the webinar. Samantha is a former global tech leader turned executive mindfulness leadership and team coach, working with hundreds of managers, founders, and VPs across 40 plus countries. She incites neuroscience, emotional resilience, and practitioner mindfulness to grow leaders so they show up with presence, courage, and strategic thinking from themselves and their teams. So I would like to give you the stage, Samantha, so you could continue and present yourself a bit more, if that's okay with you.
Nelly, thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I really appreciate that introduction, Nelly. So let me just pin myself here that you can see me better. Okay, fantastic. So welcome, everybody. Let's jump right in. So let's do an alignment, assuming that we're coaches here. So as an alignment, this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be discovering how to integrate mindfulness into work and life. We're going to be exploring that. We're going to be learning how we can use mindfulness to cultivate self-awareness, to also regulate emotions and maintain a non-judgmental and present mindset. So that sounds like a lot, and it is, but I can tell you that every day I practice these tools with myself and also with my clients or the coachees that I'm coaching every day. So today's webinar is ideal for you if you're looking to enhance your mindfulness knowledge and see how you can use it for yourself and also maybe even in the coaching space. So anybody has any questions around what we're going to be doing today around this? Okay. So a little bit about our agenda is I'm going to start off about life, basically, how we approach life today. And then I'm going to drop into the why and what around mindfulness and maybe mindfulness 101. And I'm also going to be demonstrating the ACT model, which stands for Achieve, Connect, and Thrive, that I use daily for mindfulness. And I've written about it with Professor Passmore in 2017 in a book that I co-authored called Mindfulness at Work. So I would want this to be interactive. If I'm in the middle of something, I will say, can you hold your questions? But I would prefer not just give a lecture today. If some of you have got, like, let's say, more experience and are not beginner coaches, then you may really want to ask me some specific questions. I've been coaching for 18 years, and so I would love this to be a two-way or one to many, okay? So let's start off with the problems that we're living in a society that's always on. I'm not sure about you, but I work with leaders that are working in global spaces, and so they're always on. And so when once before we used to be able to leave the office and go home, now there's no such thing, because the leaders that I coach anyway are in multiple time zones, and it's very, very pressurizing. And so what I'm seeing, one of the problems I'm seeing is that people are very, very busy and they are pressurized. And so busyness is actually a defense mechanism, because when you're busy, it stops you from being mindful. You can't really be mindful when you're busy all the time. You actually need to create more space in your day to be mindful. And so we are also going to be looking today at how we can manage our energy, because I'm seeing so much overwhelm. I'm seeing how people are frustrated, how they've got low energy. And mindfulness can really help. Even now, while you're in this webinar with me, just take a few breaths. It doesn't cure things, but it does activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps to calm us. So as I'm talking, just take a few deeper breaths, breathing in and breathing out. It's always very helpful. And so what I'm seeing as well is that, all of us have an inner critic. That's the voice in our head that's chatting away all the time. And this also prevents us from being mindful because we're busy, we've got stuff going on outside of our experience, we've got stuff going on inside, emotions, the stuff in our head. And so we really have to do a lot of work to be present today. Another thing I'm seeing is that my my clients find it really difficult when people are not like them to adapt. So if people are different to me, it's hard for them to adapt. And then the next thing is that this results, always on mentality. So I want to show you the next slide. And then I actually want to stop sharing so that I can talk to you a little bit. So this slide I saw today on LinkedIn actually, and I just dropped it into the presentation. And we really are in a society of instant everything. If I'm feeling stressed, what can I do? Maybe go and exercise, that can help. If I'm angry, have a checklist of what you can do. And so we're looking to fix things. And mindfulness is actually that it's not about fixing things. Mindfulness is about being aware of what's going on with my inner state. So I'm going to stop sharing so that you can see me a little bit more. Okay. So mindfulness is more about coming back to my senses. Okay. My full senses, noticing what's going on within, noticing what's going on without. And it's a practice that we want to keep nurturing. So the next thing I want to ask you is, can you drop in the chat and just share with me what your knowledge is of mindfulness? So from 1 to 10, where 1 is low and 10 is high, how would you rate yourself on your knowledge or on your practice so that I can just get a pulse of who's in the room today and that I can, adjust the presentation accordingly? Okay, fantastic, fantastic. If you can just share, how do you feel about your present knowledge and practice of mindfulness? Thanks so much. Okay, wonderful. So I'm hearing that quite a few of you actually are either practicing it or you've been, you've learned it. And so I'd love you to share and ask questions. If you don't feel comfortable coming off the microphone, you can also share in the chat and ask me a question. And from time to time, I'll have a look. So the next thing I want to do is talk about the definition of mindfulness. So there are many, many definitions. The teacher that I trained with is John Kabat-Zinn. So John Kabat-Zinn, you may know him. He is the father of mindfulness. He brought mindfulness to actually the Western world. John Kabat-Zinn, he was at Massachusetts Medical School in the US. And what he discovered is that people are really suffering. People are suffering from chronic pain, and he believed that his Zen practices could help. And so what he did is he designed a program called mindfulness-based stress reduction. And I'm a mindfulness-based stress reduction practitioner. In other words, I did the course in, 2005, 2006. I did the course in 2005, 2006. And then I think it was much later, like about in 2016, I trained to be a teacher. So almost 10 years ago, I trained to be a teacher. And so John's definition is mindfulness is how your awareness is, your ability to be awake in the moment, and it's the quality of your presence. And so as coaches, we could think of our listening in the coaching space. And so we want to be able to listen in particular way and so that we partner better with the client. And so this listening and the quality of our presence is first of all with ourselves. I can share with you that you may hear my accent. I'm from South Africa originally. I've been living in Israel for over 30 years, and I see that there are a lot of faces from overseas. But now, right now in Israel, we've been at war since October 7th, 2023, and it's been a really, really difficult time. And it's escalated over the last 2 weeks because, Israel went into war with Iran. And so, without getting into the politics of anything, what I do want to say is that we all need to manage ourselves. We need to manage ourselves. And what I've seen with myself, because I practice daily, I've seen how that even now, when I'm sitting with you here now, I can see that there's always going to be a part of me that's a bit tense. But there's another part of me that has joy, and there's another part of me that has curiosity. And so, what we want to do when we practice mindfulness is we want to try and take those different parts of us and we want to cultivate them. And so, you can cultivate all these different parts. So, John Kabat-Zinn created this course. I'm going back to him. And he created this 8-week course, and this was in 1979. And what he did is he had a control group, and he had two groups. And so the group that practiced mindfulness, they saw that these were people that were suffering from chronic pain, from chronic stress, from chronic medical, illnesses. And we saw that the people that were in the group that practiced the mindfulness, it was daily practice. To get into this group, you had to practice mindfulness daily. There was like huge results. The changes were not only on a questionnaire, on a qualitative level, they were also on a brain level. So we see that there are actually changes to the brain from practicing mindfulness. And I can tell you with myself that I've changed radically. I can see it in how I am, with my family, to how I am in the coaching space, to the different kinds of clients that I coach. And so I'm going to give you some examples when we get more into the presentation. So if anybody's got any questions from what I've shared up to now, please drop them in the chat. I'd love to have your questions. So I've said all of this is backed by science. And just a little bit about me is that I coach in 43 different countries today. And I actually don't know a lot about the different cultures in these 43 different countries, but I use mindfulness. I use mindfulness to connect with the people. And I tap into them on, different levels, because mindfulness is about paying attention to our thinking. It's paying attention to my emotions, and it's paying attention to what's going on in my body. But I don't only do that for myself. I'm actually noticing what's going on with my client in the room. So just as an example, one of the things I'll work on is a lot of the people that come in to coach with me, they all get triggered by frustrations, by being overwhelmed. And so it's actually helping them to create space for that and not fixing it. My biggest successes with the clients have been that they had this paradigm that they need to fix everything and they need to be always on in results. And when we create space to be more mindful, to understand what's going on first with me and then with the people that you're interacting with. So for my clients, I coach leaders in organizations. And so the managers that I coach need to really, in order to be more effective and to be above the line as managers, they need to create space for themselves, to notice more what's going on with their thinking, notice more what's going on in their heart and what's going on in their body. So what I'm doing is I'm asking them questions about this all the time. I'm creating tools that can help them. So let me pause a second. I'm mixing up a lot of things. What I'm trying to get across here is that we want to be doing two things. We want to be practicing mindfulness with ourselves, and we want to also bring it into the coaching room. So one of my favorite tools, which is also available on my LinkedIn profile, it's on my Instagram profile as well, on my bio, is I call it the Daily Leadership Reset. And I do this with all my clients. And what I do with them is I ask them at the end of the day to do a reflection on what's going on with their thinking, what's going on with their feelings, and what's going on in their body. And why that's important is this is a mindfulness practice. Because mindfulness is first of all about stopping and breathing and checking in with myself. And first of all, noticing these levels of thinking, what's going on in my emotions and what's going on in my body. And when we notice that, then we have the power to make a change. And so this is like one of the tools I use, and it's called an informal mindfulness practice. So I'm not sure if anybody's done MBSR here. I sometimes teach it, very rarely these days, but I do teach it. MBSR stands for mindfulness-based stress reduction. I highly recommend it. There's also a program called MBCT, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. That's if you know somebody that's really suffering from depression. They've taken drugs, they've taken, antidepressants, and they still get depressed, then the MBCT is more for them. It's exactly the same course, but it's designed to help people that suffer more from depression. Because what happens with us is that wherever we go, there we are. So in this MBSR, which is an 8-week program, there is practices that you sit and you do sitting meditation, and there's what we call informal practices. And the informal practices are all about like this daily leadership reset. It's any practice which helps you stop, breathe, and actually notice what's going on in your inner experience and not fight it and not want to, not want to fix it. You've probably heard the words acceptance. Okay, acceptance is a mindfulness attitude. And so, what is acceptance? How can you accept things? How can you be non-judgmental? So maybe I'll touch on let me pause a second and go back to the definition of mindfulness, which is present moment awareness, non-judgmentally. And so, as coaches, this is the biggest gift that we give to our clients, because when we come into the coach room, we're able to put the judgment aside. So you're actually practicing mindfulness, because what is mindfulness doesn't mean that there's no judgment. Of course, we judge and we see judgment in the coaching space. But what we do is the minute we see it, we notice it, we're mindful, we put it aside. And what we do in the coach room is we turn it into curiosity, and then we're able to help our clients, because instead of judging them, we're curious around their paradigms, we're curious around what gets them stuck, and that's how we help them move. Now, you can do the same things that you do in the coaching space with yourself when you practice mindfulness. And maybe we'll drop into a practice now if everybody's open to it. So, yeah, I'm going to invite us to practice mindfulness, because mindfulness is something that needs to be practiced, not talked about. So it's the same thing with coaching. We can talk and talk and talk about coaching, but if you're not actually in the coaching space with the client and seeing the magic happen and seeing the transformation happen, there's a difference between the theory and actually having a coaching conversation. So there's a difference between us now talking about mindfulness and actually practicing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to guide you through a practice. I'm going to invite you all to sit upright. And I've pinned myself, so you shouldn't be on the video, but in case you're worried, you're welcome to switch off the video if you'd like to. So I'm going to invite you to sit upright. That's what we like to do with mindfulness. And by the way, on my YouTube channel, I also have a walking meditation. So many, many, many ways you can practice mindfulness. We're going to practice a short sitting meditation now. And so let's start. So I'm going to invite you to just get comfortable wherever you are. And if you may, I'm going to invite you also to close your eyes. And so I'm going to close my eyes. And let's just start off by saying welcome in your name in your heart. So welcome. I'll say welcome, Sam. And just feeling your body now in the chair. Noticing how your body feels, maybe noticing the temperature of your hands. And you can move and just get comfortable if you're not comfortable. So get comfortable as much as you can. And while you're doing that, just notice your breathing. So breathing in and out, any way you choose, no particular way. So just taking an in breath and an out breath. And so breathing in life and breathing out any tension. And breathing in life and breathing out any tension. And I'm just going to drop into silence for a minute and just let you be aware of what's coming into your awareness, or just noticing where your awareness is as we drop into stillness. So you're all doing great. Just continue to breathe in and breathe out. And this is what I call being. This is what we call being. And perhaps you may notice what emotion or emotions are present right now. So just taking note. And maybe taking note of any thoughts that may be present. Maybe past, maybe future, maybe even of the present moment of what I'm experiencing right now. And perhaps as we're sitting here, you may be aware of your body and sensations in your body, or somewhere in particular. And this is all normal. You're just being present and aware right now. And so you can bring curiosity to wherever your awareness goes, wanders. And you can just notice how you're feeling at the moment, if the experience is pleasant for you or maybe unpleasant, and just label that. And on the next in-breath, I really want to just encourage you. You're really all doing so, so great. Just dropping here into the stillness. This is really what mindfulness is about. And there are many flavors of it. And so I'm going to ask you to ask yourself the question now in your mind and just see what answer pops into your head. Why did I turn up today, right here, right now, for this mindfulness class? I could have been anywhere, many things to do, but I turned up here. What was my reason? What's important for me? Why am I here right now? And coming back to the breath, breathing in and breathing out. What's my current mindfulness practice like for myself? In other words, if mindfulness is, it's a form of meditation, it could be a formal meditation like sitting meditation, it could be informal practice like journaling, walking in nature is an informal mindfulness practice. What am I currently practicing at the moment where I'm able to connect with myself, maybe connect with my being? And what would I like? What would I like as an intention going forward for my practice to look like? Or what would I like to do with the question mark around mindfulness in my life? And maybe even in the coaching space. And so coming back to the breath, and I'm going to invite you to just give thanks for this few moments that we took to sit together. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to me. So, hello everybody, welcome back. How was that for you? If anybody wants to drop anything in the chat, I would welcome that. What I'd like to do is I'd like to unpack now this first half of our class of, the practice of what mindfulness is for you, what resonated with you, and perhaps how you'd like to bring it into your coaching. Thank you for those of you that are sharing. Nice to take a few minutes, relaxing. And it's really, really important to know also that it isn't always relaxing, because mindfulness is about meeting yourself where you are from moment to moment. And so if you tense, that's what you're going to meet. And that's okay, because you learn to hold the discomfort and there are many ways, there are many practices. I do recommend you to have a mindfulness teacher or meditation teacher. There's so much available at the moment that can really help you, to advance your practice, especially if you're going through, let's say, something difficult. It's not always the easiest time to practice without a teacher. So that's important to note. But it's really important to be able to hold everything, all the emotions. So I'd like us to unpack what we've taken up to now in the session. And then what we're going to do in the second half is we're going to move forward, and I'm going to unpack also some coaching tools and the Mindful Act leadership model. So I'm literally going to break us up into breakout rooms for 5 minutes. I am going to put us in pairs. If I notice that somebody doesn't have a pair, just hold in the room and I will reallocate you so that you will be either with somebody else or with threes. And so the question is, what am I taking up to now from today's class? And how do I want to maybe integrate mindfulness into my life and into the coaching space more? So just an open conversation about mindfulness. So let me open up the rooms. Give me a minute. Okay, so I'm going to send you in for 5 minutes and enjoy. So welcome back, everybody. I would love you to come off microphone, mute, sorry, and share something so that I can also give my input. So who would like to share?
I can share.
Thank
Yeah, I was with Raya. It was really nice to share with each other. And what I shared is the insight I had with what you shared just the first half hour. It's meeting myself where I am. So I was telling her that I'm doing meditation, and sometimes I cannot go into the meditation and think. And then, oh, okay, because I had such a big day today and my head is full, and that's why I cannot get there. So that's the different things in it. So I really love that. Thank you.
Yeah. So do you understand, Lizette, that there are many ways that we can meditate?
Yeah, I understand.
So yoga is a form of mindfulness. It's a form of mindful movement. So for people that have got ADHD or ADD, yoga or qigong or tai chi is a brilliant way of practicing mindfulness, because then we get into the body and we're moving and it's easier for us. It's also very important because what happens is, I've also got ADD, and with the person I was, in the room with, we spoke about that, is that when I used to practice mindfulness, my mind was everywhere. And I actually learned to just watch my mind as it floated around everywhere. And I always came up with these brilliant ideas, and that's also okay. But lately, I would say over the last 6 months, I've been practicing a more focused kind of mindfulness. So you can practice what's called open awareness. Like sport, there are so many kinds of practices that you just need to find what's right for you. I really do recommend it though, because so you can see my ADHD now. So what I want to say is, I instead of letting my mind go everywhere and just be, which is a beautiful feeling, just to be and be comfortable in the space, I'm actually now training my mind to come back to my hands, to focus on my hands. So I do focus on my breath, but my mind goes. But every time my mind goes away, I bring it back to the breath, but also to the temperature and to the feel of my hands, wherever they're placed on my body. And so that's my practice. And I've really seen a jump in my attention span, in my ability to hold my attention more. Because people that have got ADHD or ADD love coaching, because then it's a very focused space and it's a quiet space. There aren't lots of different interruptions. But life is not like that. When you're out of the coaching space, and our leaders that we're coaching or our clients are out of the coaching space, we're in the society that is fast. We're in the society that is instant, that we need to fix things, that, emotions come and emotions go, and people react instead of responding. And so if we are mindful and somebody is anxious in front of us or angry in front of us, they don't have to come into our emotional field. We can actually even protect ourselves by being aware that's his. I'm not going to let them, because emotions are contagious. We know that. And we don't want to take on what's going on in the system. And so, because I'm living here in Israel, I'm going to be affected by the system. So maybe what I'll do is I'll quickly share this model of mine. I don't want time to run away with us, then I won't share it. So let me just share this. So I promise to share with you this mindful act model, and I'll work with this again every day because I'm coaching leaders in 43 different countries, and I need like a model to help ground me and also ground them. So the act means that you do need to do something. You need to be proactive, and you need to basically we want to coach people to act. We want to coach them to be proactive, to think ahead, to be strategic. And so the first part of the model, the A, stands for achieve. And this achieving more, you can only achieve more if you have emotional resilience, if you have mental resilience, if you look after your body. And so from one point of view, we want to be more effective. But from another point of view, because we're human, we're going to go below the line. So when we're in the coaching space and we notice that our client has gone below the line, we want to help them be more effective. So we want to give them tools to be resilient. And that's this achieve piece. Working with the polarity. Anybody that studied polarity, we need both. We need to work both on our strengths, and we need to work on building that resilience piece, because we don't live on an island. We actually are surrounded by people. And so that's the next part, is the connect. And the connect part is all about me and the person that I'm talking to. So it's either the one-on-one or the one-to-many relationships. And so I coach leaders who are managers. They all have teams. And so in their day-to-day, they're always connecting with somebody, whether it's on Slack, whether it's on Teams, whether it's on messages, whether it's in a virtual meeting or face-to-face. And so these connections are really important. And so the question is that I ask them, is there a connection or is there disconnection? So basically, what I help the leaders that I'm coaching to understand, to be aware, to be mindful where there's a disconnect. Because where there's a disconnect, there's friction there. That's a place of opportunity for my client, for the manager, to actually push through the discomfort of the disconnect and see how can he or she create connection again. Okay, so that's the connection piece. And that's the one-on-one, one-to-many relationships. And then the thrive piece is the ecosystem. That's the system. And so if you're not coaching somebody that's like around their work, and you're coaching them around their life, they may be a daughter or a son, they may be a brother or a sister, they may have kids. And so they're part of a bigger system. They live in a community, they live in a house, they live in a suburb, they live in a country. And so the system affects us. And so that's the many-to-many relationships. And so with this model, what I encourage people that I coach is to be mindful of these 3 pillars. And so we can't maybe be mindful of them exactly at the same time, but in a day, when I wake up in the morning, I need to actually understand what's going on with me. How am I today? Okay. How am I feeling? And that's the achieve piece here. That's the orange. What's going on with my team? I want to be aware of what's going on with my team. If I've got a team member, maybe that's in a country that something's going on, maybe I want to check in with them. Okay. And then the thrive piece is the many-to-many relationships. And as you can see, the green, within the green, for me, it's my managers that within their company. But the ecosystem is bigger. The system is bigger. And so the circle that's outside is, let's say, their suppliers, their customers. It could be, people outside of their direct system that they're serving. And so they want to be aware of these 3 pillars all the time. They want to be mindful of them. And so in the achieve piece, I'm going to stop sharing so that you can see of me. In the achieve piece, what we want to be doing is, one second, what we want to be doing is, again, noticing what's going on with my thinking, what's going on with my emotion, what's going on with me in the body, my inner experience, okay? And if I'm good today, great. But if I'm not good, then first of all, I need to see, how can I bring myself back to center? What do I need? So maybe it's that quick list. Maybe it's that list of, exercise. Maybe it's phoning a friend. Maybe it's meeting with my coach. And so what do I do when I'm not centered? And so that's again where mindfulness can help, because we can't always find a solution out of us. Sometimes we're going to have to hold the anger, and we're going to have to hold the anxiety until we're able to let it go. So we want to let it go, but sometimes we're not there yet. And so mindfulness helps us actually cultivate compassion, or saying it in maybe the simplest of terms, just being kind to myself. So when I'm having a difficult day, I just say to myself, Sam, what do you need right now? And so that's the achieve piece. And then the connect piece is like, what's going on with the people around me? Okay. And being aware of that and noticing where there are connections and where there are disconnections. And then the thrive piece is noticing what's going on in the system. Now, because I'm coaching managers in organizations, for them, they need to give results. They need to think of the business. And because I'm coaching a lot of engineers, they don't always think of the business. And when I'm able to actually help them be mindful out of themselves, out of the ego, out of the me and my team, and into the we, okay, moving from me to we, that's the thrive piece, they're going to succeed in life. Not only on the outside, but also on the inside, because they can understand that it's not just about their team's results. It's also about what happens to the team that they're collaborating with. So that's a little bit about how I work using this model. And another thing I'll say is that the mindfulness practice that I did with you before the break, I do that with my clients. And so if you remember at the end, I did some questions. I gave you some questions, visualization questions, where I asked you what was helpful. I asked you, how are you mindful today? How do you want to be mindful? I do that in the coaching. Now, what they do is my clients close their eyes and they don't speak to me. Just so that you know, all of them love this, okay? It's my practice because I'm very comfortable with it. I'm a mindfulness teacher. I bring my strength into the space. So if you're good at visualizations, you could use like a mindfulness visualization where you take them into a future scene of what they want. You don't need to only do it at the beginning when you're doing vision. You can do it every single session. And why I use it a lot, not to calm people, but to help them strategize. Because when they're talking with me in the coaching space, they can only talk so much. And so when I go into a mindfulness, let's say visualization, I call it mindfulness inquiry, what actually happens is that they go into a different space in their brain, and then I use neuroplasticity, which is helping them create those neural pathways around what they want. So let's say my client has a difficult conversation that he needs to have with somebody in his team. Okay, I had that today. Today, I had a client in the UK that his team member did a 180, and my manager's manager has team members that are not motivated. And in the 180, they said there's a 35% chance that they want to stay at the company in the next year. That's bad news. And so I had to help my client. I didn't have to, he chose to have this conversation. And so what I do is we do some grounding first, and then we move into him seeing the conversation in the future, and he walks that path. So my manager walks that path in the future of how he's going to be with his client. And he creates that neural pathway so that when he does it with his client, it's with his manager, sorry, it's not the first time he does it. And so this is made, like, this has really created like a major change in my coaching. It's not about calming the client. It's about tapping into their being and tapping into their resourceful. I just ask the questions and their minds go do with all the answers. I coach hundreds of managers, and I've had one that said to me, Sam, this is not for me. One. Now, I don't have a set way of when I'm going to do it. I'm very much in the moment. So this is where I bring the mindfulness as well. It's not like I use the methodology, which is my overall, but doing that visualization that I did with you before the break, that I do at different times. Yeah. So what I want to also tell you is that if you want to experience more of these visualizations, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. If you're not connected to me, please connect with me. I do LinkedIn Lives, and they're also available as replays. So you can watch the replay. Because I speak slowly, if you've got a fast pace, put it on ×2 speed. You can fast forward to the visualization and experience it. I do often in the lives, I do the visualizations as well. So you can experience it again and again. And then that way you can feel more comfortable to maybe introduce it yourself, if it seems like something that could work for you. But the first step is for you to actually start practicing mindfulness yourself. That's key, because it all starts with you first of all. So I'm going to stop speaking now, and I'm going to open up to questions. I want to see if there's any questions here. Yeah. Nelly's just asking if you can write the number, if you can write in the chat, because this is, I think, how you're going to get your certificate. So
exactly. Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you. Okay. So please, friends, colleagues, I really thank you for your attention. Thank you for staying with me for this hour. And I'm available on all the social media, and I actually want to gift you something quickly. So let me just get to it in my presentation. 1 second. So think of a question you want to ask me, and I'll also stay on for any questions that you have afterwards. So this is what we did today. We discussed problems. We talked about what is mindfulness. We did a practice that's also available on my YouTube. Okay, Samantha Amit YouTube, one word, Samantha Amit. We talked about the ACT leadership model and holding awareness for these different viewpoints. You can see the ACT here on the screen. And my challenge, which I've given myself, is to speak to coaches around the world and understand what's going on for them and what their challenges are. And so I want to gift you with, hopping on a call with me. And so this is the bit.ly link. So bit.ly is bit.ly, and it's coaches 2025. And you're welcome to set up a call with me and we can unpack anything that you learned today, any questions that you have, anything that you want to bring into your coaching. Please, you're welcome to do that. And I'd love to hear about what you're doing in the coaching space. I mean, we're here to make, this world a better place. So thank you. Okay, we still have some time for questions.
Thanks. Hi.
Hi, Tila.
Hi. Thank you so much. I'm curious about something. So I know for myself that for me, understanding the brain was a game changer when it comes to mindfulness. It just clicked, and from that moment, it was very easy for me to practice. So I'm thinking, if mindfulness is part of what you're doing, but we're not teaching, like coaching says that you're not teaching, do you explain? Do you take a moment to
Yes, I do.
okay.
I give resources. I've been coaching for 18 years. I don't only purely coach. I do like I'll drop into 5 minutes of like explaining the model. I sometimes I've got a video on it also on YouTube. Probably it's available. If there's anything from today you want, please just ask. I want to help you, help your clients, help your coachees, as I said, make this world a better place, bring more conscious leadership. So definitely either share resource. I share the daily leadership reset that I shared is everybody does that. I mean, whoever coaches with me does that. I have different formats of it. Sometimes I use it with even AI today. I do a lot of AI with some of my clients. So I'm evolving all the time. I evolve with them depending on their speed. But my role is to get them not to take steps forward, but to leap forward. And so to get those like transformation, I need to take a lot of advantage of the time I have with them. So not all of them, like I had one client that coached with me for a year and a half and weekly, so I had that space. But I do a lot of associate work. So when I do associate work, I get brought into a project and then I only get to coach the client every 2 weeks. And so when I'm only meeting them every 2 weeks, I have to help them have tools, daily tools for checking in with what's going on with them in that achieve, connect, and thrive space. So absolutely, I do training, not a lot, but like 5 minutes, 2 minutes. I share resources all the time.
Thanks.
Great question.
If it is okay with you, before we leave our meeting, I would like to invite everyone to open their cameras so we could have one group photo from the meeting, from the webinar today.
Yeah, and I'd love to see everybody's faces. So nice. Yeah.
I really want to thank you, Samantha. Really, it was fascinating, and I'm so glad that I had the chance to learn a little bit from you, and I feel like there is so much more. Thank you.
Sometimes when we learn something, it feels overwhelming, like where we are and where we want to go, and that's also normal. So if we flip that with the polarity, all it is ambition and us wanting something. And like coming from an ADD space, I often like look at somebody else and how they are, and I feel a loss. Like I'm also always like admiring people. And then my mindfulness practice, where I stop and breathe, I remember who I am. So that's also part of it, coming back to self. It creates humility. There's so many multiple positives. And there's so many ways you can practice, practicing walking in nature without your phone, leave your phone at home. That's a mindfulness practice, feeling your feet on the ground. Like even now, just stuck you know. So thank you so much, everybody, for your time today and for your presence.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Samantha, for the amazing webinar on mindfulness. And it was amazing timing for today with everything happening here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So bye, everybody. Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.